my name's Catherine. I hope you're doing well. For today's video, I'm going to be going through some of the books that are coming out in 2024 that I'm most excited for. I've got a good mix of some romance, fantasy and thriller / horror in here, and there's a couple of young adults at the end as well. And I sat and made this list this morning and it made me so excited for so many books that are coming out next year. I've kind of set out the books into categories by genre, so we'll start out with romance. The first book I'm really excited for is Funny Story by Emily Henry, which is coming out on the 23rd of April. From what I can tell, this is an opposites attract romance which follows Daphne and Miles. Daphne's fiance recently realised that he is actually in love with his childhood best friend Petra. Daphne is left stranded and decides to move in with Petra's ex, Miles. They mainly avoid each other for the most part until one night they drunkenly bond over their heartbreak and come up with this plan to make their exes jealous by posting misleading pictures of the two of them together online. Emily Henry is one of my absolute favourite romance authors. I hear a lot of chat online about like people saying some of her books are misses, like if you like beach read you'll like Book Lovers but you won't like her other two, and vice versa for the other two. But for me, I've loved every single one of her adult romances. I really enjoy her characters and her writing style. I think she's really witty, and so I can only imagine that trend is going to continue for me and I'm going to love this one just as much. I really like the sound of the concept of this one. The next book I'm really excited for is How to End a Love Story by Yulin, which is coming out on the 27th of February. This book follows two characters, Helen and Grant, who haven't seen each other in 13 years after Helen's sister died in a tragic car accident. Now Helen is a best-selling author, really successful, and she has moved to LA to join the Writers' Room, which is adapting one of her best-selling young adult novels, and she finds out that one of her colleagues is going to be Grant. Grant is a screenwriter who is trying to move on from his past, but he struggles with ongoing panic attacks. They are immediately drawn to each other, they have this connection, but the tragedy of their past is hanging over them, and Helen's parents have never forgiven Grant for the accident that occurs, and they have no idea that he is back in Helen's life. I have loved Yulin Kwang's work for years and years. She used to make short films on YouTube which were absolutely beautiful. If you haven't heard of her, I really highly recommend you check out her work. She did, was it a series or was it a short, I think it was a short film on YouTube called I Ship It, which was adapted into a TV series which she worked on, so I think she's drawing on that for her novel, which is great. But my personal favourite thing she's done film-wise was this like mini series called Kissing in the Rain, which were literally like less than 5-minute films following two couples who are actors on screen who are always cast as love interests together, and each episode, the first half shows what they're acting in at the moment, and then the second half of the episode shows their burgeoning relationship off screen, and it is just so good. I love it so much. She is also set to direct an adaptation of Emily Henry's Beach Read, and she's writing the script for the adaptation of Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation, and I'm so excited for that because I love her filmmaking style so much, and I love Emily Henry's writing style, and I think her filmmaking style will be so well suited to adapt Henry's books. But that's a bit of a tangent. This is her first novel. I honestly, before I read the description, thought it would be kind of more rom-com-y, but from the description it sounds like it's going to be really super intense, less silly rom-com and more kind of like stab you in the heart over and over again. But in Yulin Kwang I trust. I honestly think anything she does is going to be amazing, so I can't wait to get my hands on this. The next romance I'm excited for could be a hit or it could be a miss. It's Daydream by Hannah Grace, which is coming out on the 4th of June. This is the third book in the Maple Hills universe, and this follows Henry, who has recently been promoted to ice hockey captain, and he is struggling in one of his classes, and Hallie, who is an academic superstar. When Henry ends up crashing Hallie's book club, she ends up helping him with his class, and in return Henry is providing her with a whole bunch of exciting new experiences that she's using as inspiration for the book she's writing. So the reason I'm saying this could be a hit or a miss is because I recently read Icebreaker and Wildfire back to back, and I really did not like Icebreaker, but I really liked Wildfire. So Hannah Grace's writing could go either way for me. I'm inclined to say that I will enjoy this because, in all fairness to Hannah Grace, Icebreaker was her first book, I think, and Wildfire her second, and I think her writing improved so much more in Wildfire. So I think maybe, like, for me personally, she is starting to find her voice more, and the editing in Wildfire was just so much better than in Icebreaker. I won't get into it. I've talked about it in another video. But I really like the character of Henry from what we've seen of him in the other two books. The plot of this book sounds fun. I think the tutor-student dynamic could set up some really fun, sexy scenes that could happen. And yeah, I think this one's going to be a cute one. Another romance I'm really excited for is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston, which is coming out on the 6th of August. This book follows two bisexual exes called Theo and Kit, who were so in love with each other, but they ended up breaking up right at the beginning of this big trip they were taking to Europe on this lovely food and wine tour. Now it's 4 years later, and Theo and Kit have both separately decided that they want to do the tour again and book themselves on it separately, not realising the other person had the same idea. And when they find out they're stuck together on the trip, they decide to let bygones be bygones and strike up a friendly competition to prove they can be friends and that they're over the past. And the competition is to see which one of them can have the most amount of hookups with locals for the duration of the trip. I've read Red, White and Loyal... I can't say that. I've read Red, White and Royal Blue, and I've read One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and I really loved both of them. The concept sounds great, and it comes out during summer, so I think it'll be a really nice summery vibe book to read as these characters travel through Europe drinking wine, which is literally my dream. I'm going to move on to some romantasy books that I'm excited for now. The first one I'm so excited for is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, which comes out on January 4th, so very soon. And this is a sequel to Divine Rivals, which I read a few months ago, and I'm assuming is going to pick up right where Divine Rivals has left off. So I'm not going to talk about any spoilers. I will say, if you haven't read Divine Rivals, it is a academic rivals to lovers fantasy romance set in a world in which there are two gods at war with each other, and they have pulled humans into the war, creating a division down their world. It follows two young journalists called Iris and... I put Iris and Winnow, but that's her whole name. What's the other guy's name? Kit. It follows two young journalists called Iris and Kit who go to the front lines of this war to report on what's happening. The first book follows the arc of their relationship against the backdrop of this tumultuous world that they live in, and I think the second book is going to focus more on the culmination and hopefully conclusion of this war. I think this is just a duology, so it should be wrapping up in this book, I think. I loved Divine Rivals, and it ended on such a big cliffhanger that I am so excited to get my hands on this book and find out what happens next. The next book I'm so excited for is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandanna. This comes out on the 2nd of April, and it follows Sarah Swan, who was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain, but after a fall from grace, she has been exiled from the magical guild. She is now powerless and helps her Aunt Jasmine run her inn in Lancashire, but when she learns of an ancient magical book that could possibly give her her powers back, she turns to a historian, Luke Larson, to help her figure out the mysteries of this book. And it just so happens that this Luke Larson is the same Luke Larson that she had a one-night stand with a few years back. I read Mandanna's last book, Very Secret Society of Regular Witches, in October, and I really enjoyed it. I think her writing was beautiful. I really liked her cast of characters, really diverse and charismatic. I'm really excited to read another one of her books, and I actually personally think I like the sound of this plot more than Very Secret Society plot. and I like that book, so hopefully I'm right and I enjoy this even more. The next book I'm excited for is Lore of the Wilds by Analeigh Sbrana, which comes out on the 27th of February. This book is set in a fantasy fae world and follows our main character Lore, who lives in a village that is entrapped in a forest, and when one day her village becomes under threat, Laura ends up making a deal with a fae lord. She convinces him that she'll risk her life for wealth, when really she is searching for magic that she can use for herself. She's thrust out into the hostile outside world, and as she's trying to navigate this new unknown space, she finds herself leaning on two fae males in order to survive. I don't know much more about this book than that description, but I'm just very intrigued by it. I think the cover is pretty. I like the sound of a village entrapped in a forest. I think that sounds magical. I mean, obviously it's probably not good, but sign me up. Now I'm gonna move into some fantasy books I'm excited for. I've got a couple here. First one is The Djinn Waits 100 Years by Shubnum, and this comes out on the 9th of January. This book follows our main character Sana, who moves with her father to Akbar Manzil, which is a once grand estate off the coast of South Africa, which now stands in ruins and houses misfits who go there looking to forget their past and disappear, basically. However, unlike the other tenants there who don't pay much attention to their housing, Sana finds herself drawn to this mansion she finds herself in, and especially to the east wing, which houses a locked door behind which she finds a bedroom that has been frozen in time. The bedroom tells the story of a woman called Mina, the original owner of the mansion's second wife, and while Sana becomes obsessed with Mina's story, she is unaware that a grieving Djinn that haunts the mansion has started following her, and she is beginning to awaken lost memories of the house itself. This story sounds incredible. It sounds so beautiful and fantastical and haunting and magical. Is there any more adjectives I can use? And it sounds like a book that I think is going to really immerse you in the setting. It sounds like one of those books where I will be cliche and say the thing that everyone says, where the setting's the character in itself. It sounds like one of those books, but I don't care that that's a cliche thing to say. I love books where buildings are characters in themselves. I eat that up. The next book I'm excited for is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, which comes out on the 9th of April. This is a historical fantasy which is set in the new capital of Madrid and follows Lucia, who uses scraps of magic to get through her days of endless toil working as a scallion, but when her mistress finds out about this magic, she forces Lucia to use the magic to further their family's social standing within society. Lucia is soon then noticed by Antonio Perez, who is the secretary to Spain's king, and she is then swept up into this world of magic and alchemy and priests and so on. And whilst her notoriety grows, so does the danger to her because of her Jewish blood in the face of the Inquisition's wrath. I know Leigh Bardugo is beloved, and I loved Shadow and Bone on Netflix. I did try, I think I read maybe the first 6 of Crows a while back, but I'm not sure if I finished it. I did enjoy it. I think it was just one of those things where I just put it down one day and didn't pick it back up. But I have Ninth House sitting on my shelf. I don't know why I've not read it yet, because I know that I'm gonna love it. It's like dark academia, fantasy, culty. Yes. So I'm excited for this book to come out, if anything, to get me to read Ninth House before it comes out, or to read this book and then get me in the mood to read Ninth House. But anyway, about this book, I don't read a lot of historical fiction actually, but there's something about this that has just really drawn me in. It's obviously got the fantasy element, which I love. I'm just very intrigued by the premise. And I think it's going to be a popular one that people are talking about a lot because everyone loves the Bardugo. Now got a few horror / thriller books I'm excited for, starting off with The Fury by Alex Michaelides, which is coming out on the 16th of January. This book is about an ex-movie star called Lana Farrar, who every year invites all of her close friends around to her private Greek island for Easter. But one year a murder takes place and sends the tabloids into a tizzy. The book is told from Elliot's perspective, and from what I can tell, he was there that fateful night and he is going to tell the true events of what happened. This is giving Knives Out, Glass Onion to me, with all the rich people, the private Greek island, the murder, and I'm here for it. I read The Silent Patient a while ago and I did enjoy it, and I'm planning to read The Maidens quite soon as well, hopefully before this book comes out. I just think it's going to be a really fun, thrilling time. The next book I'm really excited for is The Puppet Master by Sam Holland, which is coming out on the 20th of June. There isn't much of a description for this book yet, so I'm just going to read out what it says online at the minute, which is very dramatic. He watches your every move. We've all experienced it. That creeping sensation of eyes on your back, the faint echo of footsteps following yours. He controls you. Across the country, a madman is carefully choosing his victims. Once he has you in his sights, he won't let go. He will make you pay. You think you're in control of your own life? Think again, because the Puppet Master is coming for you and he won't stop until you're dead. I really love Sam Holland's Major Crime series. There are two other ones that are out already, The Echo Man and The 20, which I read earlier this year, and I just love them so much. I will say the reveals are a bit predictable, but her writing is genuinely so terrifying to me, and the plots are just such a fun ride to go on that I don't even care. I just really, really like them a lot, so I'm so excited for this one to come out. Another thriller, although from the description this sounds more horror-y to me, I think, is The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden, which comes out January 30th. This book is about the half-empty town of Pacina, which, like a lot of other towns in Italy apparently, has been left half abandoned by people migrating to the coast or to the city. In order to fix this, the mayor of Pacina is selling the abandoned homes for €1 as long as the people who buy it agree to stay in the house for at least 5 years. Sign me up right now. Our main characters are Tommy and Kate, who jump at the chance for this because they work remotely anyway, and Tommy's grandparents live in Pacina already. However, as soon as they move into their new home, their dreams of a romantic Italian lifestyle are dampened by Tommy's grandmother's angry reaction when she learns which house they've bought. Their new house has secret rooms, makes strange sounds at night, doors that are locked suddenly open on their own, and at a gathering they overhear a neighbour referring to it as the House of Last Resort, which was previously owned by the church. They soon learn the secrets of what the priests were doing in the house that they now call home. And meanwhile, down in the catacombs beneath Pacina, something is stirring. I am so flipping excited for this book. That description sounds so good. And as soon as I read that description, it made me like want to start researching about all these empty towns in Italy. Is that true? I think it is true. And I want to know everything about it now. This might be a new obsession of mine. This whole book sounds like a bit of me. It sounds like it's going to be really creepy and culty, set against the beautiful backdrop of Italy. I'm in. Last couple of books are young adult books that I'm excited for. The first one being A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal, which is coming out on the 15th of February. This book follows Archie Casimir, who is a criminal mastermind and collector of secrets who runs a tea room in town, which at night time turns into an illegal blood house which caters to the feared vampires that linger in society. Did I call her Archie? I don't think that's her. Wait, sorry, let me... Arthie. My document auto-routed to Archie. I can only apologise. Her name is not Archie Casimir, it's Arthie Casimir. Right, so when her establishment is threatened, Arthie must strike an unlikely deal with an adversary and call upon some of the city's most skilled misfits to help her run a heist that will throw her into the midst of this great conspiracy that will threaten the world as she knows it. I added this to my TBR months ago simply because of the cover. I think the cover is beautiful. I had no idea what the book was about, but I was like, I love that. But now that I know the plot summary, I'm very keen to read this as well. Not just because of the cover. I've been getting a bit more into young adult fiction again recently, and this one sounds so fun and action-packed, so I'm excited for this one. Finally, the last book I'm going to mention is The Reappearance by Rachel Price by Holly Jackson, which comes out the 2nd of April. This book follows our main character called Belle, who has lived her whole life in the shadow of her mother's disappearance. Her mother Rachel disappeared 16 years ago when Belle was only 2 years old, and Belle was the only witness to her disappearance, and she doesn't remember what happened. Belle wants to move on with her life, but the case is dragged up again when the Price family agree to a documentary crew coming into their home, and whilst Belle is just impatiently waiting for all these cameras to leave so she can move on with her life, the impossible happens and Rachel reappears. Rachel reappears and tells this unbelievable story about her disappearance. So unbelievable that Belle is suspicious of it actually being true. And so with the film cameras still rolling, Belle has to try and figure out what actually happened all these years ago and why has her mother suddenly reappeared all these years later. I love Holly Jackson's thrillers. They're young adult, but even so, I think they are really quite scary and seriously intense. I loved her A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. It was so well crafted, really fun, whilst at the same time having this seriousness to it that feels like Jackson really respects her readers. It doesn't ever feel like you're being talked down to. This story just sounds really intriguing. I really love stories where documentary crews get involved because I feel like it adds a really interesting extra layer to the story where a story is being told within the story you're reading. And Holly Jackson is just like so good at crafting a really good mystery that keeps you guessing and keeps you on your toes, and then hands you this incredibly satisfying ending that makes sense but that you didn't see coming. I think she's great and I'm excited for this. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that you've had a really good holiday so far. If you're on holiday, if you're working, I hope that you're having a good time anyway with all the festivity about. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a really happy new year when it comes, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Okay, bye!